There was also a third video I sent out on Glenn Barker of Chicago on
Right.
open eye.
Yeah, thanks for that. So welcome those of you who are watching this or listening to it as well. As is my practice, I have spared you the check-in. And we'll go right into the call. The focus of this week's call, this month's call, is best practices. So practices are things you do routinely, things you do as a normal part of your work on enrollment. And best practices are the ones that you really have found work well. They produce, not to put too fine a point on it, butts on cushions on Friday night. So I'd like to, I don't have anything prepared here. Randall Larson Maynard, who's our NorCal master of enrollment, is on vacation, but I will tell you some of the things that he does. He makes extensive use of our Facebook page, our regional NorCal Facebook page, and I don't think a week goes by without 2, sometimes 3 messages from Randall on our V group, our regional V group talk list, reminding men that there's a training coming up. And I don't know what Randall would say about it, but I can tell you that he is extremely effective, and that those practices plus being in touch with iGroups and really following up a lot, especially with men who may have registered previously and not made it, or may have come and left, has us have pretty full trainings all the time. So that's what I have, at least, to contribute from Northern California. Randall may put something out after he sees this video and expand on that. But what are you all doing that's working? Or what have you heard about that's working?
I'll jump in. Bird, bear, full leader. So when I do staff meetings, I have some say. And my first staff meeting, which is typically 6 to 8 weeks out, I do role plays on stuff I've stolen from crucial conversations. That even if it's a staff guy talking to a warrior, he says he affirms common goals and values. You're doing a lot of good in your life. I see you doing great. That's something important to talk to you about. I'd like to talk to you about inviting your brother to your iGroup. And then praying that they pass it on to warriors that aren't on staff to do the same thing. When they see a man and it hopefully occurs to them to talk about MKP, affirm common goals and values, things they're doing in their life, fatherhood, hard worker, taking care of their adult parents, elderly parents, or really working to be a good partner with someone. Affirm that out the wazoo, and then say, I've got something important. It's worked for me. It's helped me do even better with stuff like that. And then invite them to ask permission. Can I talk to you about it? It's not Amway. And then invite them to iGroup, and then, do something like have coffee with them or have a meal beforehand so that they're more inclined to actually move and come with you and sit in the group for a while.
That's great. David, I heard several things kind of in the subtext of what you said. One that you were pretty explicit about is that engagement from, and I'm familiar with crucial conversations, around common goals and values, and then an offer of something that'll be even better. So it's not, hey, I think you're broken, we got something that'll fix you. It's, you're doing real well and we got something that'll be even better. That's one thing I heard. Another thing I heard, which interests me, it sounds like you have more than one staff meeting before your trainings. You have 2. Tell me about that.
The first one is to gin up. We wish that staff didn't carry the load of outreach enrollment, but it kind of lights some fires that have helped. We want to get off that. That's part of wanting to merge with Kentucky, is to maybe hire someone to work 52 weeks a year. But to do the staff meeting. And then another point is I take time for them to do dyads and role play invitation.
Really?
I believe it reinforces the neurons in the brain. Oh, not only is this something I can do, but I've kind of used words like it before.
Very great. Yeah, and the third thing I think I heard you say is really keeping it up in front of men. So not just the men on staff, but they take it back to their I groups, they take it out to the men they work with. So it isn't really the staff that's necessarily carrying the load. They're carrying the load of communication, but they're putting it out there to other men. Have I got that right?
You do. And you hit on something that is very near my heart, in that I don't invite men because they're broken or that I have a clue about how to fix them. I want men that are already burning on 8 cylinders, and New Warrior can slap a turbocharger on that and really help them be a better father. And that's the invitation of not only, well, you get a lot out of this, but I'd like you to be a part of the organization because you've got gifts.
Great. Fabulous. Thank you, David. Really good. Who else? Who's got something to offer? You're all doing things that work. I don't care if your current training is going on for all 8 cylinders or if you're worried about it. You're all doing stuff that works.
So I'll go next. I totally agree with David on when I first came into the project, thinking that who needs help was totally the wrong way to go. Now it's about who do I really have a connection with and who do I want to sit in circle and get to know better and have them support me as well as me support them. And I've enrolled so many people from that place.
Very good.
I ditto what you guys have already said. The one thing that we rely on a lot here in New York is the open circles.
Talk about that, Stan.
Yeah, it's a lot of the groups here are not open fully, but they'll open up like once a quarter or once every 2 months. Whenever there's an NWTA to support, they'll open up and they'll have an open circle meeting. And for me, I king a lot of them. It's about getting connection. So for me, the way to have men connect in the open circle, once we get them there, is to open up and share something that's really vulnerable, hear other men share something that's vulnerable. Once that's done and they feel safe, we're brothers at that point.
So David, Stan, when in the open circles, when do you put the arm on him to do the weekend?
As soon as possible, actually.
I was actually kidding.
Oh.
So talk about that.
Yeah, as soon as possible, we get these open circles going. We use our iGroup coordinator to put it out on the listserv so that if there's a man who I know who lives in Manhattan and can't come up to Hartsdale where I am or Rockland, we can send them to Brooklyn or Manhattan or Long Island, depending. So we have a whole list of open circles in the whole region. I find also the golden child has made made a man decide many times.
Talk about that in case men don't know what it is.
It's basically like from birth up to maturity, the man stages going through, starting out as a golden child and coming up to, feeling some pain and then some fear where the pain's coming from, and then some anger, et cetera, et cetera. And up to the quote unquote, the good man who is in his head and, going around like doing what they have to do because people rely on them. Mm-hmm. And then showing them on the way back how they can see how these parts of themselves have really served them in great ways, and to honor those parts. And then all of them working together towards a golden child.
Stan, do you have a protocol for that you could share with us?
Sure.
Would you put it out on the V group, please?
Okay, we'll do.
Because I've seen that done, and I've seen it done well, and I've seen it done where it kind of fell flat. So I'd be really interested in seeing what you're doing.
I agree on both of those. I've had both of those experiences.
Great.
It's my control freak that wants me to do it. That's why I king these meetings.
That's fabulous. I'm going to ask you a couple other things, Stan, but someone just joined us from 248. Who's that? You're muted, whoever you are. On the phone, 248-931-7090. Multitasking. I'll try him again in a bit. Stan, talk a little bit about the practices that are embedded. Oh, here you are. 248, you there?
Yeah, Central Great Lakes, Michael Erickson. I'm just calling in late. I'm having a doctor's appointment, and I might have to check out depending on the doctor. But it's recorded, so I'll get it from there.
Great. Thanks, Michael. Thanks for being on the call. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Stan, talk a little bit about the practices that are embedded in the open circles. I mean, I know it's I've actually never sat in one, so I'm curious. How is it like an iGroup, and how is it different from an iGroup?
It's more of a presentation than an iGroup, so we won't do carpet work in it. We might do dyads in it, so that the men have a chance to again open up and share with another person. Mm-hmm. We won't do clearings because that would scare the shit out of somebody without knowing what a shield is, etc. Mm-hmm. Again, the intention is to get men to open up, be vulnerable, and know that, wow, they don't need to have 5 beers in them to be able to share that kind of stuff with each other.
And so talk about the dyads. What sorts of things will you do in dyads?
What are you working on? What's some challenge that's going on in your life? I've seen people ask, what would your dad think if he knew that you were here? I mean, it's different questions, whatever comes up. I like to have also a golden question, what's something about yourself that you're really, so proud of? And,
Great.
Just to go a couple of, I wouldn't go more than 2.
Got it. And so the rest of the time, what are you doing? You're talking about the NWTA, or you're talking about men's work?
Well, other than what I expressed, we will talk about the NWTA. We will talk about the history of what those 3 fellows, why they developed this, how many men have gone through. We'll leave a space for Q&A, and we'll also invite them, if they're ready to sign up, that they can sign up right here. Got it. Really good. Thank you, Stan. Appreciate your sharing all that. And one last thing is, I find men, as far as the staff, it's easier for them to invite a man to an open circle than to invite them to register. Okay. Just to let you know that. Yeah, I can see where that would be true. By the way, I don't mean to be the only one asking questions. If any of you have questions for Stan or David or anybody else who talks, jump on in. Who else? What other practices? That was gold, Stan. Thank you. I took away. I'm now more committed than ever that we're going to start doing open circles. We haven't done them in Northern California, and I really see the value of them. So thank you for that. Who else? I wish I had a waiting list like you guys do that.
This is Ken from Syracuse. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, just fine, Ken. Thank you.
David and I have our personal mission is to grow our group to a sustainable community, which is 40 men. We've got about 8 to 10 men in our group right now, and David started doing meetup, and he can jump in and talk about that. We've had some great success with that, and that's basically connecting with other groups by joining other groups and getting in front of people who are already doing something similar. We have a really great organization for initiating, so we talk about that with those other groups, and that gets men interested.
What are some of those other groups, Ken?
Oh, let's see. Got a humanist that I belong to, Central New York Humanist. There's a group we found called Y Chromosome, which is more sexually oriented. I have joined a photography group and got some people interested. So stuff like that. And you'll see the meetup groups. If you create a meetup group, you'll see it'll show up in your local area.
Uh-huh.
And then you can go and you don't even have to go to these other groups. You can just join, and then people kind of scope out who you are when they see that you've joined their group. And they see the Mankind Project logo, and they see your local information, and that you meet once a week or whatever it is. That's what they see when they join, when they come and look at us on Meetup.
Very good. That's fabulous. Is it possible for us to see your meetup
I
site?
don't know.
Yeah.
Ask David Galvagno that question.
David
Yep.
Galvagno?
Give me a second and I'll get it up there.
Okay. And while you're doing that, Jamie Wellick, welcome to the call. You want to check in?
Yes. Thank you. Jamie Wellick, Minnesota Community Coordinator, checking in, grateful. Sorry I'm late. I'm in the midst of another meeting for Minnesota Community and Central Plains supports and works with All Nations Training Center in South Dakota. And we have a new opportunity out there. We've been using a leader's home and barn to host. Would you guys ever allow your wife and you to host a warrior training weekend in a 3-bedroom house? That's what they do out there.
Wow.
They have a new facility. So I'm just finishing up that meeting and I'll be listening in because enrollment is a huge part of what we need to do well and better here in Minnesota. So
Fabulous, Jamie. Thank you. And Jamie, there's the real gold in the first part of the meeting. So when you get the link to the video, give it a watch. Okay, David Galvagno is sharing his screen, and we're going to see what their meetup site looks like.
This was actually modeled off of the Green Bay, Wisconsin's meetup page. Dan Baldwin a while back had put out something about their success with it, and I contacted John, the gentleman that set it up there, and he was more than glad to let me copy what he did.
That's great.
Which has worked. And right now for members,
It'll go. It's slow when you're sharing your screen.
we have about 30 members. Some of those are brothers in Rochester. About 10 are the men that Ken mentioned that visit. A lot are that are interested, and I send out messages to them, try to at least monthly, to let them know we're there. They're welcome to come visit us whenever. Part of Meetup is the calendar. And our group meets weekly. And as you see, there's our circle night there.
Yep.
And any other events we do or associated with, we put on there also.
Got it. David, you've got a pretty big area for your region, or your area, just like we do. Are your meetings always in one place, or do you move them around?
Well, our group is in Syracuse, and there's open circles in Rochester also.
I see. So each community manages its own open circles.
Yes.
Excellent. Really great.
But we have 4 men right now that we've gotten through through Meetup that come regularly, and we're hoping within the next by next May, our next weekend, either ours or another weekend if they want to go, to get them initiated.
Fabulous.
They're all in.
Thanks, David. Really great. Go ahead.
But here's a description I put up there of who we are that I passed by Boyson before I put it up there. He was fine with it. I'll put the link to all this out there if anybody wants to see it, or if they need help setting something up. Be more than glad to help them.
Great. Thanks very much.
Welcome.
Appreciate it, David.
Just to continue on with that, this is Ken from Syracuse again. Another thing that we do is every year we do a local home show. We recognize that a big part of what we do is what we need to do is branding. Nobody knows who we are in Syracuse, so we're our next biggest thrust, besides talking to people is getting the word out that we exist with
And
a
how
logo
do
and
you do that?
signage. Well, we've got the fairgrounds. New York State Fair is huge here, and we've got the fairgrounds that does shows once a year for a home show, and hundreds and hundreds of people come by. We pass out tons of brochures and business cards, and it's staffed, and we talk to people. I accost people out in the aisle and say, come on in and talk a little bit. We also do community service work for the place that we are meeting in, which is a museum, science and technology in Syracuse.
Mm-hmm.
We go and visit other local groups that will have us. Let's see, what else? I've been connecting with church groups. We're getting a lot of interest there, but they take a lot of work to get into the doors. They're already burdened with trying to get members for themselves. So we're still looking for the biggest bang for the buck. And Meetup really does serve that purpose. It costs us $60 or $70 a year, isn't that right, David? But it's worth
Yes,
it because
it's,
men are coming in.
it's 60 every 6 months.
That's really not
Yeah,
bad.
so $120 a year. For what I put into the organization of my own money, that's money well spent for me.
Yeah. The LA group, there's nobody on from there now, but they're particularly their work at the LA Pride during Pride Week. Mankind Project was all over that. And I think it was very successful for them. And I love you. Home show, I got to tell you. And I could have sat here and thought about places to go for an hour and a half, and I wouldn't have come up with home shows. That's
well.
Really
they
smart.
always have free booths. It's a free booth.
Huh. Interesting.
So as long as we're a nonprofit, it's a free booth. And what we'll do is get them a in-kind donation,
Sure.
so they get a write-off on it too.
Brilliant. Thank you. Really good.
And I didn't think of the Pride Parade is a great idea. I'm going to write that down.
Well, and not only Pride, but you know, we really need to be actively reaching out. My judgment. We really need to be actively reaching out to men of color, to LGBTQ men, to Hispanic men, to any of these, and so you got to go where they are. And if there's a Pride Parade or a Black Lives Matter event or anything like that we can be a presence at, not even a booth or talk to people, but just show the flag. And
we support you.
Project supports you. Exactly right. Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ed,
Our
this
brothers,
is, I was going to say, this is
our
Sid
brothers
from-
in Rod. Go ahead.
I
Sorry.
can talk about Pride and some of the things we're doing here for our GBTQ Gateway. That's in October.
Uh-huh.
The biggest thing we did, and this is my first time to be outreach coordinator. We've had the same, Scott Kaiser's been our outreach coordinator for about the last 3 years, but he handed over the reins.
Are you in LA, Sid?
I am in LA, yes.
Oh, I missed that. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to slight you. I didn't catch where you were.
Oh, no worries at all. I will say the thing that we've done that I think might be a little different is we started really early. We created an 8-man steering committee in January to plan or start the outreach for our weekend, which is this October on the 14th. And the benefit of having 8 different voices and ideas is that we've had a wide range of places where we've done outreach. We sent out press releases. We had one man that was just responsible for coming up with and sending press releases out to local organizations. That man also had a contact at CBS Radio, and we were always just having faith that the radio ads were or PSAs were being played, and then one of our men actually heard it this week. We got a copy of that, which I can send out.
Yes, please do.
We created a dedicated Facebook page called Mankind Pride LA for the GBTQ community within the Mankind Project here in LA. On that page, we've been promoting different events. The first of which, the big one at least, was LA Pride last month. We had a man that and a team that spearheaded that. It was a 3-day event. It wasn't free. But it was well worth the $500 or $600 investment. We printed postcards for that event, which we've done a second round of, to promote different events that we've been putting on. one of the things we did too that was a little bit maybe unique was that we started this 2 years ago when we had our very first GBTQ gateway. Was we produced our archetype T-shirts that said lover, warrior, king, magician.
Seen those
in their colors. And the thing that I love them, they were kind of a hassle. I have to admit, as far as getting the printer part was actually probably easy, but they really allowed me at least to have a conversation about the weekend and how it was different, both within the community and outside the community. And as a result, we probably raised about $1,000, which has helped us with some of our outreach. We just had a barbecue last weekend. It was our first kind of like attempt to do something social with men, but we wanted something to invite men from Pride that was like an easy next step. And we had 21 men show up as guests and about 25 staff. So it was a huge success. We did without alcohol, which I judge was probably the right call. We're going to have a second one in September. We are going to have 3 more circles of men. They're kind of that are scattered around the city. And we have an events team that's kind of unique. They're out there trying to encourage the men in our community to go out in the community and talk about the project. And they're having a mentoring call next week on just...
So let me interrupt you there. So the events team, meaning not that they're creating events, but that they're mobilizing men to go to other events?
Yes, exactly.
Wow, cool.
So they're really... the challenge we have as a gateway is that we're only looking predominantly for men that are a subset of the population, and so to do that, we can't just paint as broad a stroke. So they're looking at events that are already happening in the community, whether it's a networking mixer or a hiking group or arts group or whatever. One thing that we did 2 weeks ago that was really powerful for me personally too was one of our men, I guess via being at Pride, got in touch with a nonprofit organization called Human Voices that does outreach to like at-risk communities. And one of the communities they do is a Spanish language like support group where they have an hour of education and an hour of social work. So they invited us to come in for the hour that was their educational portion. And me and 3 other men that do speak Spanish went in and we just did basically warrior communication dyads with this group. And I had a lot of fear around it because I don't speak any Spanish, and this group was pretty much 95% Spanish only. And as a result of me just being there and holding space, I did a check-in and talked briefly about the weekend and then checked out. I felt like, for me at least, I felt such a great sense of connection. The men were really attentive, and I heard from the Spanish speakers that the men got a lot out of it. And 3 or 4 or 5 of them actually came to our barbecue the next week. And for me, it really exemplified how much we need a Spanish-speaking group in Los Angeles, which we don't have at this point in time. We're also using email, and I have a team that's making phone calls, reaching out to men. And that's been effective, but also it's a logistical, it's a big logistics piece.
Yeah.
And we've had meetups in place for a while. Scott Kaiser set that up a few years ago, and he's continuing to run that. I guess since we're a bigger metro area, we have a higher price because ours is $90 for 2 months. So we're paying $45 a month for that. But we get, I guess, 1 or 2 men a weekend from that.
So more than pays for itself.
Yes. And then I really like the idea about open circles with more of a presentation format. We do have a list of our groups that are open. And in my judgment, not enough of our groups are open. But we haven't been altering the format other than explaining the rounds. But we still do clearings and
great. I want to underscore. I'll be right there, Ken Fry. I want to underscore a couple things in what you said that I think is really important. Sid, one is starting way in advance. I'm talking to a lot of men, some of them on this call, who have NWTAs coming up in September and October, because I start tracking at 120 days, and we just entered October and we'll be entering November soon. And there's this, it's summer, nothing is happening is the story I hear, and it ain't true, because there are areas with September, and like our September training here already is over 20 men. So, it is possible to enroll during the summer. The other one that's critical, and I know it's important for gateways, but I think it can be applied to any NWTA. Our urban gateway, which is for men of color, low-income men, men who've been incarcerated, inner city men primarily. That's the target group. We do that we're doing the next one next July, and we've started planning already. We have a team in place to make that happen, including selecting the leaders and everything else. I hear you're doing that with your October gateway. Critically important. There's no reason to wait till 2 months before or 3 months before. If you've got a weekend coming up, get your area steward to put a team together. As an area steward, I'm on the calls with them and I talk with them, and they're dying for all the support they can get. So if you get a team together and say, we'll take the November NWTA, just turn it over to us. Here's what we promise you. They'll support you. And as far as money goes, when I've yet to put anything out on our listserv saying we need money for something that's worthwhile, that's not in the budget, where men didn't step up and cover it. So thanks, Sid. Really great stuff. Thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead, David.
This is Stan.
Oh, sorry, Stan.
Just a question. How do you get, since we do most of our enrollment through the staff, and the staff meetings don't start for say 3 months before, how do you get people beforehand to get involved in the enrollment?
I'll tell you my answer in one word, Stan. Ask. Invite them. Say, we're setting it up. We don't know if you're going to be on staff or not, but if you want to support this thing, and give preference to men who are on the steering committee or on the call it a steering committee or whatever, to be on staff if they want. Just like we give preference to men who have a man in the weekend. How about you, Sid? What do you think?
I would say one thing we did do that was a little different, I think, that's been an adjustment for men in this community, is that we enrolled the staff. We did staff selection about 5 months out. So staff selection was in April for October weekend, and then we selected them in May, and we had an enrollment meaning we enrolled the staff into the container already back in May. So we already have our staff listserv going, B group going, and the staff, I judge, are really engaged in making the weekend a success. And we're going to have 2 more staff meetings, a 4-week out and a 2-week out, I believe.
So there's nothing to stop you from doing all those things with any NWTA. There's no rule that says you can't do your staff selection 5 months out. You just, what would it be like if we weren't scrambling for staff and MOS at the last minute? It's a pretty picture. Ken Fry, were you trying to say something earlier? I thought you were. No? Okay. I want David Bird to play music. I'm looking at his setup over there. My goodness. Anything else for anybody?
Yeah, another question.
Sorry.
Just a
Ken
quick
from
question.
Syracuse. Trying to figure out if anybody has used or had success with Facebook advertising. And if so, what they do.
Paid advertising?
Yeah, paid advertising through Facebook. For example, we did one last year just before NWTA, just to see what happened. I spent $60 on that. I think we had over 20,000 impressions. That's not click-throughs. That's just our logo showing up in front of eyeballs. The little ads that annoy you on the side of Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I think we got, and you pay by the click-through, so the more clicks, the cheaper it gets. And you can set a budget for every day and say, I think I said $10 a day till I hit my $60 mark, and within a certain time frame. And I didn't even hit $60, but what impressed me was the number of eyeballs I was in front of with my ads.
But did you get click-throughs?
Yeah, we did. We got click-throughs. People wanted to know more. We didn't get anybody signing up from it, but that wasn't really my goal. Right. And what you get out of that is comprehensive demographic information. You get to see who clicked through. ironically, it was women more than men, but apparently more women view Facebook than men do anyways.
So it's okay. If they go tell their men, hey, go do this, we'll take
Yeah,
them.
that's fine. Women are best advocates, right?
Among the best.
Among the best, yeah. Counselors are good too.
Thanks. Stan, you had a question?
Yeah, a question for Ken, actually, from Syracuse. Or David, what success rate do you have with using the meetups on getting actual bodies on the Friday night?
Probably 2 out of 10 that actually sign up for the page will come to a meeting. And from what I gather, I've only been initiated a little over a year. Our meeting runs a little differently than others. We actually run our I group as an open circle, and we run our circle the same whether it's their first time or they've been coming for weeks.
Got it.
And they, the ones that get it, stay. We have 4 men right now that they're uninitiated, but they get it, and they're doing the work along with us, and they want to do the weekend.
I think
Just a matter of us
Stan
getting them there.
David, I think Stan was asking, correct me if I'm wrong, Stan, about the follow through from the open circles to the weekend. And do you have any?
Well, those are those 4 men that I'm talking about.
We haven't been doing it long enough. We haven't been
Got it.
doing it long enough yet to get that number. So we've got 3 guys right now who are very impressed with the circle. 2 for sure want to sign up for the next weekend, wherever that is.
Great. Fabulous. Anybody else?
Well, here's an aspect I just want to drive home a little bit, that I know that knowing Scott Kaiser, who was our outreach guy for 3 years, definitely takes this approach, which is about planting seeds. It also takes the pressure off. If you're not trying to, I mean, obviously we're going for big pushes the 2 weeks before and the month before the actual date, Friday night comes. We're always going to be doing that anyway. But his approach throughout the year has always been, you're planting seeds, you're planting seeds. I personally sat with 2 men for over 6 months in an I group before they actually went up on that mountain. And we're not an organization that is in it for any kind of short haul for the most part. And taking this weekend, even though we try to keep the cost down, is not a small step, especially since we don't tell them what they're doing. So it is about planting seeds. It is a big step for a lot of men to think about that for a while, to sit with other men and finally make that decision. Yeah, I'm going to go up. I'm just going to go. I've been sitting with these men for a while now, or whatever that is. And I think Scott's approach has served him in the sense that not only did he put a decent number in every training, but he did it consistently over 3 years. And he did it by keeping a running list of, at times, hundreds of men that he would often just call for 5 minutes and go, how you doing? Just checking in with you. Just a call like that out of the blue from another man, from an organization, sets that organization in that man's mind, and says, wow, these guys are different. I've never get a call from a man. I'm getting a call from my own father, and I'm getting a call from this man out of the blue asking me how I am and what's up in my life, and do I want to come on down? We're having a taco night, or hey, just want to let you know Circle's still here. So I think if that approach of planting seeds, that approach of taking our time with it, but making it a consistent effort, not only is easier for us in enrollment, because it takes the pressure off of cramming people in at the last minute, but it also pays off in the long run. It's the way we're really going to get men in.
Well, and also in what you're saying, and I 100% am aligned with you, Trip, but we allow the work to speak for itself. That's the value of an open circle. That's the value of having men in I groups. I think I've said this on this call before, but when we do homecomings, celebrations, I'll often do the part about, here's the history of the organization, here's what NorCal, and here's what we're doing. And I'll get to a point in the conversation where I'll say, okay, you ready for the sales pitch? And they'll go, yeah. And I say, if you're ready, do it. That's it. That's the sales pitch. And I stole that from John Hunter. Great. We just have a few minutes left. Anything else for anybody? This has been, I got to tell you, this has exceeded my expectations for really great stuff. I'm going to watch this video and I'm going to mine every nugget of gold in it.
I've got a question. Tim Fry from San Juan Community. My question is, I've got probably 3 guys who have told me that they want to do the weekend, but they just have no money, and they're like, I can't do it because I just don't have any money. And I've told them money is not an object, but what is the next step I can take with you guys to get them signed up, for gosh sake?
I'll tell you
they're being perfect. Like, they're sending me emails like, I've got no money.
Right.
I need $50 every month for my family, and they're just hurting.
We have a yeah, Sid, I will. Thank you. We have a Next Man Fund. We also have a fund because our urban training, we only charge $50 if they've got it, unless they're a man who's not from the target group, then they pay full freight. So we have a Next Man Fund, we have an urban training fund. Before we use those, Randall asks a man to write speak his truth. This is why I want to do the weekend. I don't have any money, but I know the weekend will make a difference. And we put that out to the area, on the talk list. And let me tell you, I have yet to see a man didn't get at least partially, if not fully funded, off that. We will not turn a man away. It isn't just money is no object. We want you in the weekend. We will support you. And then get an experience that here's these, 20 men that they don't even know, that don't know them, just put in, $30 a piece, $40 a piece for them to do the weekend. It's like, oh shit, there is something different here.
Well, and there's another aspect of that too, and I know Scott has done this a lot with men. We are an organization that takes action, and we are an organization that encourages men to ask for what they want. So we're getting that man to take that small action. But one thing that goes a step further, Scott gets them to set up a GoFundMe or a page where men can just come and contribute. I have yet to see a man who has done that and wrote his letter why he wants to be on that weekend not be funded within 3 days.
Yeah.
I've never seen it go more than 3 days before that man's goal, whether it's $600 I need the full tuition, whatever, if they could come up with, is done. It's just done.
Now, I like to see a man put a little skin in the game. So if they can put up $20, but even if they can't, I want them in that room on Friday night. I don't.
Well, and setting up that GoFundMe is putting some skin in the game. So you
Absolutely.
don't have the money and you're really serious about that. Then put yourself out there and be vulnerable and put some skin in the game that way and let the men show up and show you what we're about, because they will.
Brilliant. Okay, man, we're gonna wrap up. Give you back a few minutes of your busy day. I want to say to the men who are watching the video, and I'm going to put this out on the listserv as well. This is real gold, and I know that the many men who are not on this call and who will watch the video also have an enormous contribution to make. So what I'd like you to do is, if this stimulated thinking on your part, don't wait for the next call. Put it out on the listserv, on the V group. Here's my best practices. Here's what I do that's a variation on what somebody said, or here's what I do that nobody said. And let us hear from you. I don't know if we'll do a call in August. I want to, and we'll do it. No, we will do a call last week in August. And whoever will be there will be there. And we'll video it. So I'm going to turn off the video in a second, and then we'll check out. But to all of you, really just amazing to me what men come up with on these calls. And the most important thing, I believe, about this enrollment coordinators support system we're setting up is to know you're not alone. We have men that will mentor you. We have suggestions, we have best practices, we have resources. Just get in touch with me or put it out on the V group and we'll get you supported. You are not alone. So to those of you on the video, Thanks for watching, and I'm turning